Would you please share with us how Nomoli statues can be used for successful do-it-yourself art therapy?
Well, I've been using them myself for many years. I'm 65 years old, and the last time I had a doctor, I was 17 years old.
Welcome to the show, where we discuss time-tested and science-supported tools for better health, long life, and pleasures.
Do you know what Nomoli is? They are small figurines, statues that had been unearthed in Sierra Leone by diamond hunters in caves and farmers in their fields. There is little known about the origins and the purpose of these enigmatic 19,000 years old stone figurines. However, many people swear to have experienced their healing powers, which are allegedly linked to the extraterrestrial activity of the reptilian-like humanoids who visited our planet in the past. So stay tuned and find out where you can get Nomoli figurines and how they can help you live happier, healthier, and longer lives. My name is Lilian Zeltzer, and for over 3 decades, I researched, hunted, and experienced numerous natural stimulants. In the process, I also met a lot of experts who, together with me, share their knowledge in this show with those who wanted. Because as Hippocrates said in the 4th century BC, if you are not your own doctor, you are a fool. On this note, I am very excited to welcome to our show the world's foremost authority on Nomoli. He is the steward of the finest collection of museum-exhibited Nomoli figurines and a cosmic and spiritual healer who takes the power of ancient rock statues from their obscurity and brings it to critical mass. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you for having me, and welcome to everyone as the Nomoli rise.
Can you please show our viewers what Nomoli statues are like? Just 1, 2, whatever you have handy and your favorite, perhaps.
Yes, favorite's difficult to zero in on because it's often whichever one I'm holding at the time. And as I've had them over many years, I have sometimes discovered things about them after many years that I didn't know before, myself using them, or by other stone whisperers and spiritualists like yourself who are tuned in. Most, I want to thank you on behalf of the Nomali. They have been for 100 years suppressed, and I'm grateful that the angels of Nomali have come into the room to spread their message to the world through Lillian's Zoom.
Well, how did it happen with you, Ben? Did you choose Nomoli, or did Nomoli choose you?
Well, I've never been to Africa. I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, so it's pretty clear that the Nomoli chose me. But my proclivity and interest towards, as your circle of influence people have the same experience, my proclivity and interest in these type of things certainly led their way. The shortest version is, many decades ago, I was approached, what they call over in this country, the alphabet soup boys, the intelligence community of America, sent 2 different agents to recruit me to work in West Africa. I did not accept those missions, but one of the guys, they said, was Bill Diamonds. And I can divulge his name because he's been off planet for decades now. And he's the one who was my contact to the Nomali. But it occurred because most all of the spies and people over there are there for a couple of reasons. There are religious zealots in the jungles, in the bush, as they call it. But most of the people are there for diamonds and gold and emeralds and other valuables, oil as it was for the other agent in Nigeria. I wasn't as interested in those things, but I said, listen, while you're in there, I'll bet you'll find some really cool artifacts that nobody's really looking for. They're all chasing diamonds. Chase diamonds. Show me something cool. So he had gathered a number of pieces and handed them to me in wooden and different pieces. And I just immediately felt connected to the Nomali. But I can't say that I was that adept and in tune, because it was maybe decades later until my work as an investigative reporter and filmmaker has had me face many criminal charges over the years, falsely accused, because I focused my investigations in film on corrupt judicial judges, tyrants in black robes, and on police who are corrupt and falsely accuse people and put them in prison, and on lawyers and liars who come along for the ride. And as such, I've been falsely accused. One of those times I was facing jail, grateful to God that I have risen above. I've represented myself in those cases. And at the last minute, most times evidence came forward, which exonerated me and kept me out here. But at one point in time, I picked up this stone. I don't know why. I, like many people, was convinced, or my brain set was that if you have rare museum quality artifacts, you put them on a shelf and you don't touch them because you don't want to hurt them or break them or anything. Well, I've come to realize that that is not at all true, that these, at least, artifacts are designed to interact and be activated by humans and to bless humans. Sitting on shelves is certainly not their ultimate usage. They have one. It was interesting, though, and I'll get into this piece. This is a twin stone, and it has a number of meanings, and very powerful stone. It's a communication stone. That's why it's the first one I'm showing it to you. It is one of the twin stones. You'll see there are two figurines, and they are feet to feet. They are typical Nomali gods. The Nomali gods, there are the stones, but the stones came from the gods which came down, as you said, in antiquity, lived with the humans. They are connected to the Dogon. I'll get into that in a minute. And they are found throughout the jungle in the ground randomly. So unlike other artifacts, which are burial sites and religious locations where you don't really want to have them taken out, these are randomly found. Nobody really knows who buried them, and nobody really knows why. There are, of course, opinions. So the Nomoli gods were sent down to earth because they misbehaved and they lived amongst the humans. And the natives would say, none of these stones, the authentic ones, so there are thousands and thousands of replicas. And I can get into that just to diverse for a second. 100 years ago, they were very popular. In fact, they were already making fakes in the Orient, shipping them to Africa to sell. But over the last 100 years, they've been so powerfully suppressed by religious and other social and other means that almost no one knows of them. So tonight, Lillian, I would anticipate, and from my experience know, that you are the first contact to many, many people throughout the world to the Nomali. And that's the most exciting thing, is to be part of them rising. As you know, when you find something, and I was going to get to that, I'd had them for many years, and after I meditated with one and touched it and checked it out, I decided I would find other people who know about them. But I was amazed there was no information out there. And I took them to people, and no one, even your most adept spiritualists who knew about crystals and all the other things, had never heard of the Nomali. In fact, I set up booth at the MUFON, Mutual United UFO Network shows, and met with these people who are on Ancient Aliens, and other adepts from around the world appeared. People from Australia were there. And I was there for 3 days. Not one person, including Bill Burns, the guy Burns, who is on the shows now, who started that alien TV show 30 years ago, had never even heard of the Nomali stones, the most forward and the most aware. So I want to jump ahead now and get to this stone. It's kind of interesting, cool stone. First, it is a twin stone, and the natives, at the core belief, would say this is to protect a mother and her children during the birth of twins. West Africa has 4 times the likelihood of having twins than any other place in the world. Very interesting, especially for your twin flame people. you'll see that it's the two Nomali. They're typical to the Nomali gods, and that they have short, stocky legs, bulging eyes, and so there's two of them in here. So that is protecting children and the mother of twins. But also, as Professor Kwaku Foyanza, my friend who's no longer with us, as my understanding is that this was where the spiritual and the physical beings meet to become a higher elevated being, was the purpose of that. Now, there's also a contention with this particular piece from the artistic representation, because some of these are really artistically cool, that this is a depiction of the Nomali gods descending to Earth in a capsule. It would have been encased fully, a cocoon type of capsule. And then when they came to Earth, it would have opened up like a two-man bullet ship going down into the Earth. So, do you have any questions?
Absolutely. It's amazing what you showed us and what you told us. Of course, we're all aware of the powers that native people assign to this, let's call them amulets, or normally statues. I know that, well, farmers and diamond hunters strategically position these normally statues in their fields in caves for the bountiful results or returns. However, in times of bad harvests, or if they don't find diamonds, they actually whip those statues as punishment. What is
that is interesting. That's interesting, but and that is one of the most earliest documented examples of Nomali use. And those were by the people who dug them up and didn't know who buried them and what they were for. Now, at the same time, there's very seldom do you hear about the ones that have never been buried, that have been used in the center of the villages and the chiefdoms throughout antiquity. Those which are used for fertility, for a lot for women and children, protection of women and children, for male fertility, for female fertility, for you said diamonds. There have a diamond divining stone, which is used to divine for diamond mines in modern times, and in old times it would have been used to find your way in any ways. There are many that are used specifically for healings. There are some, the Chief of Hearts, which is just for is about the power of love. It's amazing stone. So there are many different ones, and that one story is interesting, but that's not really. It's not as significant or widespread. What I'd like your listeners to understand is that we think of Africa maybe in different terms. In the middle of the bush, there are millions of people, and the chieftains can have hundreds of thousands of people. But at the same point in time, they can be spread out into different villages. So what I have found is what may be true of a Nomali, and there are different ones. There are pomdos, there are kisi stones, there are sapi stones. There is the mahanyade, which is the chief's head. So they all go under the general term of Nomali, but the diversity, not only of the stones themselves, but of the way they use them in different villages, would have been directed by the medicine woman of the Zoe tribe, of the Zoe tradition. It's the oldest continuous female secret society in the world. In West Africa, the Zoes, and they would use these, and the medicine men and the shamans. Then the chiefs would use them, and then there are some very small ones that would be used by individual families and clans. So I wouldn't want your listeners to think there's only one way, and that they go around beating them. The people whom I have contact with in the jungle would not only not beat them, they would be upset if you put them on the floor. You know, they would always want them venerated.
Yes,
they're sacred.
But Ben, how do we know a real ancient Nomali? How do we recognize ancient in comparison to the newly made, carved yesterday Nomali?
Well, that's a good question.
It is soapstone, and it is soft stone that can be carved even, well, especially today with our modern techniques.
Yes. And there are some soapstone, there are some that are sandstone, some that are granite, and a couple that might be meteoric that I've seen along the way. And then I'll show you another stone of interest. I would say this, that
do
as
you use
example, the
carbon
ones that,
dating techniques or something to recognize their true age, to establish it?
well, there was Nomoli found in Sierra Leone that was carbon dated to 15,000 BC. So they normally have been carbon dated. But to answer your question, the way that these have come is through Bill initially and his contacts deep in the jungle. So when they first gave them to him, they were to protect him, and for the purposes of spirituality, and those, they didn't have a value to him. He was into diamonds. So I would say the definitive answer to your question is, we don't know until we bring them over and use them for healings, etc. That's how I feel about it. Now, I would say that because our methodology way back when was always to go to the medicine woman and go to the shamans and go to the chiefs and tell them that we only wanted the ones that were powerful, and that
If
those
you
were the
talk
ones they
about
said.
the power of visual art, because it is visual art, it had been used in the integrative medicine for thousands of years to help people with many problems like anxiety, depressions, substance dependency, post-traumatic stress, etc., eating disorders, and so on. Could you please share with us how Nomoli statues can be used for successful do-it-yourself art therapy?
Well, I've been using them myself for many years. I'm 65 years old, and the last time I had a doctor, I was 17 years old. So, I am that guy that you talked about at the beginning of your show. And I've been graced by God with good health. I mean, obviously. But I think a good part of the reason why I'm graced with good health is because I don't go to doctors. They have a way of, wow. But anyways, so I've used them for many years. When I connected with my friend in Bradenton, Florida, Jeff, the village mystic, if any of your people are from down there, they will know him. He's a very powerful healer and was a central figure in the crystal skulls movement and still is. He has been using them in his healings. He just acquired or held one for me, and then he said it told him to use it in his healings, and he began to use it in all of his healings. Since then, he has found people, 3 or 4 people, maybe 5, that have acquired stones themselves because of their experience. My friend Jeff, Christopher Maher out in Santa, can't think of the name out, Marina Del Rey, Los Angeles area. He's an ex-United States Navy SEAL who had an awakening. He's just a real powerful international healer. He's acquired one some years ago, 5 years ago or so, has been using them. Most of the ones that I've placed are with friends and family. So we've had fantastic experiences internally, and Jeff down there, there's some out there. And this stone that I just showed you just came back from being at Mount Shasta in California for a year. Just came back this week in time to be for your show.
Wow,
and,
thank you. But I understand that it is a very powerful instrument. How can we hire or buy the real Nomoli statue? How much would it cost? And does it come with instruction, or should people reach out to you for learning how to use it?
Well, to answer your last question first, been my experience that when you put the Nomoli into the hands of the person who's supposed to be the next steward of that stone, that I don't have to tell them anything. It's their interaction, and that whatever they're adept at, whatever their specialty is, that's where they use it, whether it's reading, whether it's healing, whether it's astral projection. They've been used for all of these different purposes. And again, that's in the healing is in the hands of those. Now, what I do is I share with them my experience about the stone, what the background I may know about it, the artistic intricacies of it, and any use we've had with them before. With myself, I found it when I have some type of pain, or at that time back when I was looking at going to prison for something I didn't do, when I utilize the stone, I just move it around to where it seems like it fits. A lot of times for me, the best place, because of I'm only 65, but I got about 100 years in mileage. So my back sometimes, especially like this one, lays right along the spine. So I just lay there. I put them on my neck. Some little ones I put on my forehead, and again on my chest, and meditate with them. So, but I found again that people tend to know what to do with them. And again, I don't want to try to limit people by telling them this is the only way to do it. I'll add to their experience. And that's what the whole thing's about. Someone could buy a Nomoli. We're offering a few of them right now. I'm announcing tonight for the first time the Nomali Rise events that are coming in the near future. So a very small group of the world foremost adepts and healers and psychics, and a couple from the medical area will assemble, and we will have these stones, and we will use the stones, and everyone will be able to pick their own and go on a podcast with their groups, and we'll go together and we'll film it all for the documentary or the internet series, whatever it is. So that's the real exciting thing, is what happens when people get in touch with the stones, how they light up, how they, get fired up. If you had one in front of you at your next podcast, and all the people are focusing on it, meditating upon it. So that's the event of small group. Then we're going to do events with thousands of people, and we'll present, myself and my friend Alan Ledbetter, with the blue sky stones. If your people are familiar with the blue sky stones, amazing. He will be there also. And what we'll do is we'll have lines with 24 stones and a picture of the stone at the beginning of the line. And you'll be able to line up and go in and sit on a nice, comfortable chair and interact with a stone. Thousands of people will be able to do that. And again, we'll film the experience and the results. And that's why we call it the Nomali Revival, because we're going to take them from obscurity, from all the evil forces that shut them down. Because it's my understanding, Lillian, and I think you agree with this, that when there are angels of God that are out there that are not being used, they're just raring to go. They're sitting on the bench. They're saying, "Put me in, coach." And everybody's never heard of them, or they were demonized because they came from Africa. Whatever got them here, we don't care. I could go into that description, but it doesn't matter. The point is that when they came into my hands and I realized I had something that no one else knew about, it was a great, interesting thing, but it also became a responsibility, because now I have this great thing. It's, what do I do with it? Well, I've got to share it with other people, not control them, not, so. And then the final thing we're going to do is I'm going to begin to do podcasts once a week. As soon as they get set up, there'll be a feed, but I'm offering anyone who sends me an email that would like to watch the first episode, and not watch, but can join on the first episode. If you put in your title, Lillian, you will get free access to the first Nomali experience. And we will each week, we'll bring a stone out. We'll talk about the background. We'll have the people that are watching feedback what they're getting out of it. People like yourself, people like those in your circle. Tell me what you're getting out of it, because there are many stone whisperers that see things that then I say, wow, that's obvious. I never did notice that. And then at the end, we'll focus on a 10-minute meditation on that stone worldwide.
So, dear viewers, if you're just a collector of fine art, or you want to experience the magic healing powers of Nomoli, please reach out to Ben. His contact details are located under this video. But for now, on behalf of our viewers and myself, I would like to thank you, Ben, for your time and for sharing with our viewers your experience and knowledge. And I hope to see you again on our show. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you won't miss any of the new episodes. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please put them below the video. I do read them. If you are looking for a good, reliable source of specific ingredients, experts, services, or products, click on the resources link under this video. To health, long life, and pleasures.